Hello, everybody. It's Tim again here with another Carrie review to beat it all. Trying to hurry up and wrap these films up. This is Carrie 2002, the television remake or retelling or whatever. Now, when I watch this, I automatically have to compare it to the original film. So right off the start, the film's at a disadvantage. Um, just to jump into this one, it's told in they start the movie out with like after the prom or whatever, and after the incident, and they got a police detective talking to everybody, and they're recounting the story. So the story is told in the past tense. And Carrie in this film is played by like Angela Batiste. I think that's how you say her last name. And it's the chick from the movie May. If you ever seen the cult like horror film May, then then um, then you know who she is. But she was good in that film. She's good here. She plays a good Carrie, and I can see why she was chosen. She has that Sissy Spacek quality. I don't think she's as cute as Sissy Spacek, though. I think Sissy Spacek was a little bit cuter. But this girl's not bad looking, though. And she's a good actor. She does a good job here. Honestly, she was worthy of a better film. And the guy that plays Tommy in this one, I actually like him better than William Cat. I like this version of Tommy better than the William Cat one from the original. But that's the only thing I like better. Patricia Clarkson plays Margaret White or whatever Carrie's mom in this, and she underplays it. They go for a more less over the top performance so they can be more subtle. That's the word I was looking for. I had to pause for a second. Now they go for so it won't be compared to the original, but at the same time by being so subtle in the film, she doesn't leave much of an impact. Honestly, pretty much it's the same plot as the original. It's just that they add little sprinkles here and there to change it up a bit, and they got different actors. Nobody here does better than the people from the first movie, except for I like the guy that played. I like this version at least of Tommy better than the one from the original movie. The guy that plays John Travolta's character in this film is terrible. His lines are terrible, and the way they have him play it is terrible. And other than him, everybody else is pretty decent to good, at least to entertaining. Much like I said, it's the same plot, except for the ending, which is the worst. This film doesn't have the impact of the original either. It doesn't have all the titty shots that the original started out with. So right off the bat, you're getting a mark off from me. And when you get the scenes that are that were also in the original, you're seeing them again as somebody who was a fan of the original movie, and it's like you're watching them again. It just comes off as like an imitation, like they shouldn't be doing that. Like they should have came up with something else. And that's the trick. To do a remake of a classic film like Carrie, you have to do something completely different, more like a reboot, like the Dawn of the Dead thing. You cannot redo Carrie. You have to do something else. There's no way to just do a straight redo of Carrie. You have to do something else. A stupid ass little lip ring thing here fell out. I just hold it out till I'm done. But have to get a new thing to hold it in there. But yeah, you can't do a straight up remake of Carrie, but you can't repeat the same exact story. You have to change it up, like the Dawn of the Dead thing. As far as this film goes, though, it's the best it ever gets is pretty good. It turns to shit quite a couple times, and it's also too friggin' long. It felt like at the end of it, especially at the party, at the prom, that they were just trying to add in shit to extend it. Like there's this whole dance sequence that you find out did not even happen. It didn't even happen. So it's like, what was the purpose of that? It's just thrown in there just to extend everything. And the horrible lines from the dude playing Billy, John Travolta's character. Before he hits the pig or whatever, he's like overacting and he's like, "Little pig, little pig." It's so stupid. And then another thing is the prom, the carnage at the prom is done well. It's done good. And then when she keeps doing carnage as she goes into town, and they obviously ran out of money and they just didn't have the CGI to do everything that they were trying to accomplish, and it's overkill, and you can see the weak CGI, and it's really painful. I do like though that when Carrie gets home, instead of her mom stabbing her, she does something different. And she's like when Carrie is like taking her bath in the bathtub, her mom walks in and like grabs her by the throat, and is like drowning her. She's like, "You can die." I do like that a little better. I don't like that Carrie makes like her mom's heart like explode in her chest or whatever. That's like too X-Men style for me. It's like Jean Grey or something. That's too much. And then the worst offense here is when you get to the last shot. or the ending. The cops, like the cop thing, also just by the end felt like it was just added in to keep stretching the film out to meet some kind of quota of TV length. And it just got annoying. And then you get to the end, he's like, "We never found Carrie Watts' body." And then you get to the end, and it's the woman that plays Sue in this one. And Sue in this one is just not as good to me as the Sue from the original. Her character is just not as interesting. The actress is fine, but she's not written well enough, and this girl just doesn't have the charisma of the chick from the first one. But she's not bad, just subpar. And she pretty much finds out that she goes to Carrie's house after everything was over at the prom at school. She goes there, finds her in the bathtub, drags her out, resuscitates her, brings her back, and and then decides to help her go on the run to Florida. And it's like a Thelma and Louise ending, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And like that, but at the same time, that's the kind of thing I'm looking for. If you do a remake of a classic, you cannot repeat the same story. You have to do something totally different, like the Dawn of the Dead remake. That's the only way, because a film is a classic for a reason, and they did it the best way possible, and there's no friggin' way you are going to top that. So do not try to repeat it. That is the key to a success of a remake of a classic film. Do something different. And but what they've basically done here is took the story of Carrie, which was like a horror drama tragedy in the original film, and they've turned it into this horror tragedy, horror less tragedy. It's still tragic, but it's nowhere near as tragic. It's like horror less tragic. It's like a weaker horror tragedy is basically it, with a Thelma and Louise ending, with her and Sue going on the run to Florida, and Carrie wearing a blonde wig, and I'm like, what the fuck? And another thing they point out is that Carrie, when she loses her mind and kills people, she's not even conscious of what she's doing. It's just like the Hulk, it's just rage. She can't even control it. So I've heard this was the pilot for a TV show. Basically, they were testing the grounds for a Carrie TV show, and you can tell, baby, you can tell. And I guarantee that what we would have got was like a similar type of show, like the Hulk with Bill Bixby, where she would have just went from town to town, and there would have been asshole people, and she would have been trying to keep her temper under flare, and then she'd be like, "You don't make me go psychic. You won't like me when I go psychic," and then she would lose it and go psychic and snap somebody's head off in each episode. And I guarantee that's what they wanted to do, but thank God that didn't happen, because that would have been terrible. But as far as this goes, it had some good stuff, but the ending is terrible. The final, the prom is neat, but the CGI afterwards when she's rampaging through town is bad. And the Billy Nolan character here is terrible. And the death of the mom is nowhere near as impactful. So comparing this to the original, which I have to do because it's a remake, I have to. It gets a 0. I'm sorry, it gets a 0. I have to do that. And there is good stuff here, but it's so stretched out and it just doesn't last. And you can tell that they're really trying here. They are trying, but they just can't match the impact of that original film. When they try to mimic the original film, it does not work. The Margaret White here, she tries to play it different, but she has nowhere near the impact of the original woman, Piper Laurie. And the girl that plays Carrie, she gives a good performance, but she's not great like Sissy Spacek was in the original, but she's good. She is a good actor, and she gives a good performance. But again, if you're going to remake a great movie, good is just, it's not enough. We need great. To be honest, the girl that played Carrie was the best thing about the film. Best thing about the film. She was good in this film. She was the best thing about the film. And I liked her kind of Sissy Spacek quality. She was by far the best thing about the film. She should have been in a better remake of this film, if she was going to be in one at all. But yeah, I have to give it a 0. It just comes off as like subpar and just lame. Like it has no reason. This movie, I mean, Carrie 2 had no reason to exist, but I can be okay with that because as a horror fan, I understand. Sequels, they come, they go, whatever. They're a continuation, so they are a new story. A remake, however, suffers from having to do the same thing, but different at the same time while still honoring the original. So that's very extremely difficult when you're doing that from a classic, and this is a case of that. So yeah, all in all, 0. It just doesn't have the impact. It doesn't have It's not able to. They do the like scene of the period scene that was in the original. They repeat it here, but they do it without the nudity and without like with Sissy Spacek in the original, man. She's like fucking freaked out. She's like coming at you like ah, you know, she was scared to death. And this chick kind of just like gets down on the ground and goes into like a fetal position, you know, which you know still gives a little something, but it's not. They're not able to get that impact because they can't have nudity because it's on public TV. So it's automatically restricted right there. You shot yourself in the foot right there. So yeah, all in all, I have to give it a 0. I'm sorry. The girl in it from May is the best thing about the movie. She gives a good performance, but she doesn't get enough new to do. She doesn't get anything new to do to match the level of Sissy Spacek's performance. Because Sissy Spacek already played this part great, and when you got somebody who's repeating it, they're only going to get compared, so they can only come off as either good or subpar because they're repeating the same shit because they're not doing anything new. And that's what we got here. This chick is good. She does the best she could possibly do, redoing the same exact material. And that's pretty much it. This is a shit movie. It sucked. Well, it didn't really. I wouldn't even say. Yeah, it sucked. Well, I was gonna give it a little bit more credit and just say it's lame, or which it is. It's really the ending that puts it over in the pure shit territory. If they would have Carrie surviving, I'm not really into that. But if they could have done something more with that, done something more creative with that angle of her surviving, I don't know, tweak that somehow, do something more interesting with it. But they didn't. They just turned in like some silly Thelma and Louise thing. It's obvious like a opening for a TV show. It's just like so in your face. It's unbelievable. So yeah, I gotta give it a 0. It sucked. It's useless compared to the original. It's crap. Carrie 2 is better than this. I'm sorry, it is. So this is crap. So I'll see you guys again with the next remake.